Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, then I hope you won't be too disappointed because today I will be talking about one of my favorite books of this year, and that would have to be Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angeles. I've mentioned this book at least 4 times in 4 separate videos, so it should not be a surprise that I've read this book already. This is Janella Angeles' debut novel. It came out in August, and I have to say that this was so well done for a debut novel. There are so many good elements in the story, and I really want to talk about those, but first we must talk about what this book is even about. So we follow a showgirl named Kalia who works at the Hellfire House, which is located in the woods, and she is the star of the show. She is a very captivating performer, but the thing that makes her the most interesting is the fact that she is a magician. She can manipulate fire, manipulate air, and just make a lot of things happen with just her mind and her powers and all of those things. And Kalia's big dream is to go to this competition for magicians that is held in an abandoned city called Glorian. She wants to go to this competition, but the thing is, female magicians are really looked down upon in this world, so this will be a very difficult task for her, and it's very unlikely for her to even get past the first auditions without being laughed at. She is just trying to get through this and go to the competition and win and prove to everyone that she can do it just as well as a man can. But obviously there's so many other things that happen in this book, but I don't want to spoil anything, so we'll talk about that in the spoiler section, which I will have a timestamp for down below. I want to talk about the characters first because we get 3 perspectives, and yeah, let's just get introduced to these 3 people. The first perspective we get is Jack, who is the owner of the Hellfire House, and he is the master of it, pretty much. He's the one that basically taught Kalia all of her magic that she knows today, and he's like a mentor to her, but he's also very mysterious, charming, and one of the things that he does is take people's memories and show them to them, something that they would probably regret remembering. And then we have Kalia, obviously. She's a very ambitious girl, and she knows what her worth is. She knows that she is a good performer, she knows that she's a good magician, and she knows that she is better than all the other competitors in this competition, and that drive gets her to where she got in this book. So yeah, I really love her character, but I'll talk about that in the pros and cons. And then finally we have DeMarco, who is a judge of the competition. I don't want to talk too much about him because a lot of things happen with his character. His character development was just amazing. And I'm going to mention another character that we don't have the perspective of, but I just want to talk about him because he's pretty important, and that is Eros, who is kind of like Kalia's companion throughout the whole journey. She meets him and he's about to pickpocket her, but then she's like, hey, you can be my assistant. Then he just becomes a really great friend. He's very charismatic and he's energetic most of the time, but he's also very mature at the same time, and he cares for Kalia a lot, and I love him as a friend and not a romantic interest. Alright, so let's talk about my pros and cons of this book. First of all, the writing style is beautiful. It is very fluid, vivid, and it's kind of like that descriptive, flowery writing, but it's not overdone. It's done in very reasonable amounts of sentences. And I just love how Janella Angeles describes the scenery without making it seem like using an entire paragraph up just to talk about one specific item, but she describes the things that are key to setting the mood, and I loved it so much. I have not read a descriptive book that was as well done as this one, and then this also ties in with the writing style, but the banter was written really well too, because Kalia is a very outspoken person. If anyone tries to doubt her or put her down, she will put them back in their line. And then more gushing about Kalia because I love her character so much. She was the perfect, confident, yet eternally flawed character, in my opinion, especially a female character that's strong but in a different kind of way. Because personally, I just don't enjoy when someone tries to take feminism and reimagine it as something else and not actually getting to the point of she's strong on her own, she's independent. I really enjoyed the fact that Kalia was strong, yet she had her own fears and she expressed them, and she was a little bit hesitant to share them. Eventually she came to terms with it and she realized what she needed to do. And Kalia had a really good friend group in this book. She was friends with some people from another circus who had the same kind of magical abilities that she does. But then she also had Eros, who was a comical relief to her life where it was so serious for most of the time because she had to practice and stand up to all these judges that doubted her so much. But he was there to comfort her and made sure that her self-esteem was at the highest it could be. With Eros, she could kind of mess around with him and be all jokey and stuff. And then with the conquering circus performers, she was able to share some similarities with them about being a performer and being a magician, and I really enjoyed seeing that side of her. And with the character DeMarco, the judge, I really didn't care for him to begin with. I was like, what are you doing? But then I started to realize that he was actually a really good person, just having a hard time. And let's talk about some quotes in this book. This one's kind of funny to start off with, but this is its own paragraph. Honesty looked interesting on a man. I mean, it does, honestly. I don't know why my camera is doing this to me. But anyways, I just got to the spoiler section and then my camera cut off, so I don't really know what happened, but oh well, let's go back to the quotes. Let's go to the Kalia quote that I really like, and that would have to be, every step to the top counts, and please don't patronize me. Kalia's jaw hardened. Make no mistake, I know I don't have to prove a single thing to them. What matters most is what I prove to myself. Giving up would be an insult to everything I know I'm capable of, and I've already come this far. Queen stuff. Queen stuff. To not prolong this any further and risk me losing footage, I'm going to talk about my cons for this book. Starting off with, I really just didn't understand how the magic system worked, because you could either be a born magician or you could be an acquired magician, which I didn't really understand like where that boundary lay, because throughout this book Kalia demonstrates a lot of different types of magic, but I just didn't understand where the limit was, like what she can't do. I wish that was explained a little bit more, but maybe it will be in what is it called? I don't remember what the sequel title was, but it's something. When Night Breaks? Yeah, it's called When Night Breaks. Whenever When Night Breaks comes out, I will be looking forward to seeing if that will be explained a little bit more. Yeah, I just felt like I needed to know more about the magic and how that worked and how you can learn more tricks, but also like know your limits. And then some of the conflict was a bit confusing. I didn't understand how certain characters tied into the conflict and like what their contribution was. But again, I feel like that will be elaborated a little bit more in When Night Breaks, so I'm really looking forward to that. And then some of the writing. And lastly, this is barely a con, but I felt like some of the writing was a bit repetitive. There would be a paragraph, and then there would just be one sentence, and then a new paragraph. So I just saw that a lot on each page. Again, that's not really that big of a deal, and it didn't bother me that much, but it's something to add. So I'm going to start the spoiler section now. If you do not want to, get spoiled for this book and you want to read it yourself, then please leave this video, then come back once you have read it. And yeah, let's get right into that. Firstly, I didn't really understand Jack's role as the villain in this story, because there would be times where we would find out that he did something bad, but then we would go to his perspective and he would be talking about how he didn't know like what was going to come, and he was trying to protect Kalia. And so I don't know if that was like him trying to manipulate the reader or something like that, because if so, that's really cool. But you know what? I'm just gonna wait for the sequel on that. And then the big spoiler, I guess, DeMarco as the love interest, because originally it was supposed to be Jack, because Jack was the guy that Kalia had a crush on, but then she got betrayed by him and he ended up being the monster that was like in her dreams, and she saw him in real life, what he really looked like. She made a bolt for the woods and he didn't catch her, but he was very close to doing so. And honestly, that was kind of scary to witness, because he was chasing after her and like whispering in her ear and stuff, like even though he was miles away. Thank goodness that horse saved her. Anyways, back to DeMarco. So DeMarco, I never really guessed that he would be the love interest. I don't know why, because he was the third male character that we get a perspective of, and then Jack was like thrown to the curb, so obviously had to be him, right? This is the third time that my camera has failed me once again. And yeah, let's go into DeMarco and Kalia's relationship. Started off as like a hate to love kind of thing, but it was also very insta-lovey once it got to the point where she realized that he was actually not a jerk after all. And that was the point where DeMarco became her mentor for the final like round. And honestly, I was kind of hoping that they would be more like angsty towards each other in the beginning and then slowly become a thing at the end. It kind of rushed itself, but then it slowed down, then it rushed again, and then the ending happened. But in general, I think that DeMarco was a really nice love interest. He was just so sweet, and he was struggling with his own trauma, which was horrible. Like, he made his sister accidentally disappear in this magic act, and then he stopped using his magic forever. But like, he still cared for Kalia and made sure that she was confident. It was kind of like Arrows to Kalia, but more of a romantic type. Let's talk about the biggest romantic gesture that I've ever seen in my life. On page 346, it is revealed that DeMarco made this entire greenhouse for Kalia after she told him that she really enjoyed her own greenhouse back at the Hellfire House. And I just thought that was so sweet of him. And it was supposed to be for like a congratulations, you won kind of gift, so he knew that she was going to win the competition. Boyfriend goals right there. I talked about DeMarco a little bit in my favorite boyfriends and girlfriends in books video, but no one saw that. And then a little bit more of their relationship, and that would be on page 239. Stop. These children are annoying. The mayor comments on her attire and says that she looks just ridiculous and she doesn't look modest like a woman should. And then DeMarco says, for a herd of respectable judges, you spend an awful lot of time staring at her clothes. Like, dang, he popped off on that. I mean, that's just a good point to make in general, so thank you, DeMarco, for standing up. So let's talk about the ending before my camera decides to go die. So in the ending, Kalia and DeMarco are dancing for their final act, And then all of a sudden these mirrors start showing up, and then it turns out that Kalia was dancing with Jack all along, and then DeMarco was like somewhere else in the crowd, and then she and Jack were kind of like fighting or something, and then all of a sudden they fall into a mirror and are never seen again, which is basically a reenactment of DeMarco and Ava's performance where Ava disappeared. I say Ava, I think it's Eva. Sorry about that. And that's how it ended. That's literally what happened. Like, they just disappeared into a mirror, and that's where it leaves you off. And it makes me a little bit frustrated because I want the second book to be out already, but I'm really excited for When Night Breaks, and yes. So if you have not read this book, then I really highly recommend you do, because it just has so many cool elements in it. I think it has just a little bit of everything that you want. It has some adventure, some mystery, some romance, and good friendships. So yes, Where Dreams Descend. Great book. And that is all I have for you guys today. I am going to do a very special video for next Saturday, so a week from today, and I'm really, really excited for that, so stay tuned. Anyways, I will see you in my next video. Bye!